You have found yourself in possession of the cube of games. But before you can get to all the Wind Waken and ghost hunting, you gotta set it up. Here is everything you'll need. Power supply, AV cable, controller, memory card, and the console itself. Now the Gamecube has its own dedicated power supply, so make sure the one you have purchased includes the correct cable. If not, we sell replacements at our store Nostalgic Video Games. The Gamecube shares an AV cable with its two predecessors, the N64 and the SNES. If you already have one of those systems and plan to use the RCA on your TV, you're all set. Otherwise, HD adapters, specialized HyperCAN HD cables, and the RetroBit Prism adapters for HDMI and composite are all great options depending on what output you intend to use as well as what quality signal you prefer. We recently put out a video going over the RetroBit Prism adapters, so check that out if you haven't already. The Gamecube is a pretty compact system, complete with an easily accessible carrying handle for all your on-the-go cubing, so finding a spot that will be easily accessible in your play area should be pretty simple. Just remember, the controller's wires as well as the memory card will both stick out a little ways from the front of the console. The top of the console must also be accessible due to the opening disc tray. Once you've found your spot, plug the power supply into the port on the back of the console. The Gamecube's power supply has a built-in circuit breaker, but it's always a good idea to plug your consoles into a surge protector anyways. Next, plug the AV cable into the AV out port on the back of the console. If you chose one of the other options, such as the RetroBit Prism composite cable, you will plug your cable into the digital out port that can only be found on the DOL-001 model Gamecubes. Later models removed this port to cut production costs, so if you're planning on purchasing one of the Prism adapters, make sure your Gamecube is the correct model. Plug the other end of your cable into the appropriate inputs on the back of your TV. Finally, plug up your controller and insert a memory card. Gamecube games are getting harder and harder to find, and can demand a pretty penny. So if you have one that is scratched, don't throw it away. In our experience at Nostalgic, some Gamecube games can look like they've been run over by a tank and still play perfectly. Others can look pristine and not read at all. Polishing your games should always be a last-ditch effort to restore them if they aren't working. Gamecube discs have less layers of data on them, and more likely than not, polishing them will wipe the discs clean and render your copy of Pokemon Box a very expensive display piece.
How about this one? I call it bold and brash. More like belongs in the trash!
If your game looks like it was thrown into the great pit of Carcoon but still plays just fine, don't worry about it. A game that works and looks like crap is worth more than a game that looks great and doesn't play at all. And that's all there is to it. If you found this video helpful, let us know by liking, commenting, or subscribing. It goes a long way to show us your support. We've got lots of awesome content, including these how-tos, so keep in touch with the Nostalgic Network and check out our store, Nostalgic Video Games. We'll see you next time.